Today on Bridge City News, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says he will allow a free vote on a private member's bill dealing with conscience rights protection for doctors. Lethbridge College celebrated National Child Day a few days early this year with a lot of fun for the kids. And the 16-year-old shooting suspect in Thursday's mass school shooting in California has died, and authorities are still struggling to find a motive.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Paul Arthur.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Lethbridge College was bustling with the sounds of children today as families came out to take part in crafts, games, and dancing to celebrate National Child Day. The day officially falls on November 20th each year, but the college makes use of the weekend to allow families to make connections with local family services. Vicki Hazelwood explains.
Well, today we've had our National Child Day celebration, and we've had an excellent turnout of parents and children and caregivers from the community. National Child Day is celebrated across Canada November 20th each year, and it's about upholding the rights of children, and we want to build awareness of how important children's rights are so that all of their basic needs can be met, their right to be safe, their right to be loved, the right to be heard and have a voice. That's what National Child Day is all about. So today is raising that awareness and then also giving opportunity for parents and caregivers to connect with some of the services and programs we have in the community.
Well, the Christmas season must have started already because as of yesterday, the familiar tradition of the Salvation Army Kettle Campaign got underway. The organization has been helping the needy in Lethbridge for 121 years. And the local fundraising goal for this year is $150,000, which, as Major Donald Blayton explains, will hopefully be achieved more easily with the use of wireless debit machines.
100% of the money stays in Lethbridge and remains with the Salvation Army here to do the work the Salvation Army is engaged in. We do a variety of different youth initiatives throughout the course of the year, and we help, of course, the needy, the vulnerable, the working poor, anyone really without discrimination who would come to us and say, hey, you know, we have a need, can you help? So the debit machines are actually something that we've engaged this year. So I've asked for 3 of those to be delivered to me, and we're going to get those things operational on Monday of this coming week. And we're hoping, right, because to some degree we're a cashless society, and we're really hoping that people will engage those and really appreciate the fact that we're making that additional effort.
Donations can also be made online at fillthekettle.com. I'll talk about a cash cow. An 8-year-old purebred Black Angus cow was sold at Perlich Brothers Auction just outside of Lethbridge earlier this week for a whopping $140,000. The animal, known only as 109Z, was sold by the U2 Ranch to some American buyers. The pricey bovine has made a name for herself among cattle breeders for the quality of her calves. Auctioneer Bob Perlich says it was the highest price anyone has paid for a cow in his company's 52 years of auctioning cattle. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says there will be a free vote in the House on a private member's bill that, if passed, would not allow health providers to be sued or sanctioned in any way for withholding services in areas like abortion, assisted suicide, and contraception.
The answer is I haven't read the bill yet. It's a private member's bill. The United Conservative Party will always have free votes on private members' bills. And I guess it deals with the freedom of conscience, which is the first fundamental freedom enumerated in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's also enumerated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and virtually every human rights instrument around the world. And so there are 2 reasons why we'll have a free vote. One is we will have free votes on private members' bills generally, but we also passed a motion further to a platform commitment at the first week of this legislature to underscore that we will have free votes on any issues that touch on moral conscience, which is actually an ancient parliamentary tradition where MPs and MLAs, elected representatives, are not whipped to vote one way or another on matters of conscience. So we'll leave it to MLAs to make a decision. In due course, I'll take a look at that. I would just say, as a matter of principle, I've always been and I would hope everybody respects the constitutionally protected freedom of conscience, which is the first fundamental freedom enumerated in the Charter.
Two First Nations in BC's interior have dropped a court challenge against the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. They have signed separate deals with the Crown Corporation, calling it a significant step in addressing environmental and cultural concerns. They say an agreement could be a tool used as part of a greater strategy to protect connections to the land. But 4 other First Nations are still challenging the pipeline expansion in court. Low-cost carrier Swoop Airlines has announced 5 new direct flights from Winnipeg. The flights will be exclusive to the winter months, so Manitobans looking to escape the cold can head south to Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa Bay, Las Vegas, and Los Cabos. Most of the new routes depart twice a week until the end of April. Barry Rempel, president of the Winnipeg Airport Authority, says Swoop has recognized the demand for ultra-low-cost air travel. 1 person is dead in a 5-alarm fire in a Toronto high-rise, and about 700 people have been forced out of their homes. About 100 firefighters and 22 trucks attended as flames and smoke belched from the building yesterday. Some terrified tenants were screaming for help on their balconies. There is no immediate word on the cause of the fire, and tenants have been taken to community shelters. The City of Toronto is seeking leave to appeal a court decision about the province cutting the size of its council. It's asking the Supreme Court of Canada to hear the case. The Ontario Court of Appeal decision sided with Premier Doug Ford's government. That court ruled the province's move to cut the number of council wards from 47 to 25 in the middle of the 2018 municipal election did not interfere with candidates' or voters' ability to express themselves freely. The union representing 3,200 Canadian National Railways conductors, trainspersons, and yard persons has given a 72-hour strike notice. Workers could walk off the job as of 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday. Members have been without a contract since July 23rd, and the Teamsters Canada Rail Conference warned in October it was prepared to launch job action after over 6 months of unsuccessful talks. Contract negotiations are scheduled to continue throughout this weekend. Whatever happens in the first intermission in tonight's hockey game, it won't involve an older gentleman in a loud suit. But Sportsnet is not revealing what they will do to replace the segment's longtime coach, Don Cherry, on Coach's Corner. Communications Director Andrew Garris will only say it will highlight the 2019 Hockey Hall of Fame inductees. Cherry was fired after he suggested immigrants are disrespectful to Canada because they don't wear poppies for Remembrance Day. The chair of the U.S. House Intelligence Committee leading the impeachment inquiry says tweets by U.S. President Donald Trump during witness testimony could be used as evidence against him. As former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Marie Yovanovitch testified before the probe yesterday, Trump posted multiple critical tweets, which Yovanovitch said she found very intimidating. She also testified that a political ally of President Donald Trump suggested she send out a tweet to praise the president when it became clear she was abruptly losing her job.
Well, he suggested that I needed to go big or go home, and he said that the best thing to do would be to, send out a tweet, praise the president, that sort of thing.
And what was your reaction to that advice?
Well, my reaction was that I'm sure he meant well, but it was not advice that I could really follow. It felt it felt partisan, it felt political, and I just, that was not something that I thought was in keeping with my role as ambassador and a foreign service officer.
The House impeachment hearings will resume next week with 8 more witnesses being called. Investigators in California are struggling to figure out what prompted a 16-year-old boy to shoot 5 random students at a Santa Clarita High School last Thursday, killing 2 of them before turning the gun on himself, causing critical injuries, which he died from in hospital yesterday. Authorities say the teen had shown no signs of violence and did not appear to be linked to any ideology or terrorist group.
It still remains a mystery why, so I just want to encourage everyone, grab your kid, hold them a little tighter. We had an active shooter drilled just in the last few weeks at the school, and we had evidence that the kids ran as they were told to run. Kids barricaded themselves, they sheltered in place, they covered the windows, propped the doors shut, and they did exactly as they were trained, and that definitely assisted. And then when the time came to provide aid to those who were injured, they took them in and they provided first aid while they were waiting for our first responders. So as far as we know, that The actual targets were at random. There's no relationship that we can tell from the suspect and the victims.
No motive or rationale has yet been established for the subject's assault. Suffice it to say, we did not find any manifesto, any diary that spelled it out, any suicide note, or any writings which will clearly identify his motive behind this assault.
Months after being linked to accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew is breaking his silence on his friendship with the late disgraced financier. The British royal is defending his reputation in a BBC interview scheduled to be broadcast today. One of Epstein's alleged victims says she was 16 when she was recruited and groomed to be a sex slave and was ordered on 3 occasions to have sex with Andrew. The 59-year-old Duke of York says he doesn't remember ever meeting the girl, but admits maintaining his friendship with Epstein after he became a convicted sex offender in 2008 was the wrong decision. Recapping one of our top news stories, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says he will allow a free vote on a private member's bill dealing with conscience rights protection for doctors. And a look at weekend weather. The above seasonal temperatures will stay with us for a couple of days yet. Partly cloudy overnight with strong west winds gusting from 60 to 90 with a low of +3. Rising to 10 by morning, a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow, and that west wind continuing with gusts up to 90 with a high of 14 degrees. Most of today's climate change proponents claim that the science is settled, but is it? Hal Roberts had the opportunity to hear from Tom Harris, Executive Director of the International Climate Science Coalition, and that is coming right up. But first, here's a look at what's happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News Community Calendar. The Downtown Lethbridge BRZ is looking for volunteers to help with the Downtown Holiday Market taking place Saturday, November 23rd. Volunteers will be assisting with setup and takedown, handing out popcorn and hot chocolate, and the best job of all, helping Santa Claus. For more information, email Tasha at tasha@downtownlethbridge.com. Come for a festive evening to Crossroads Counseling's Shine the Light Christmas celebration and fundraiser on Friday, December 6th, beginning at 6 p.m. at the Coast Lethbridge Hotel. Enjoy a full-course dinner, a silent auction, and live musical entertainment featuring the Freedom House Choir, West Side Choir, and the Evangelical Free Church Praise Choir. Tickets are $50 per person and can be purchased at the Crossroads Counseling office. And that's your Bridge City News Community Calendar.